The extremely hard Qatar Grand Prix showed that Mercedes have a lot of work in front of them if they want to compete with Red Bull next season, as the Hamilton and Russell crash should not have happened in the first place. What's even worse for the Silver Arrows is this is not the first time they're doing something like this, and the inevitable was bound to happen at some point. Could this signify the start of a downhill ride for the Hamilton-Russell relationship, or they will manage to sort things out? Max Verstappen confirmed his dominance and claimed the third world title in the second ever Qatar Grand Prix of Formula 1, but the race started off with a collision between Mercedes drivers Lewis Hamilton and George Russell at turn 1. At the start, front row contenders Verstappen and Russell chose medium tires. Hamilton, on the other hand, equipped his car with fresh soft tires, seeking an opportunity to overtake both of them by taking the outside line at turn 1. In the midst of this, Hamilton positioned himself to the left of his teammate, with Verstappen slightly ahead and Russell to the right. However, as Hamilton navigated the first corner, he made contact with the front left of Russell's car, and this resulted in damage to Russell's front wing and sent Hamilton careening into the gravel, ending his race. While at start he was disappointed at team radio, saying "My teammate took me out," after the race he posted on Twitter saying the crash between himself and Russell was 100% his fault. Hamilton's perspective on this situation might be that Russell shouldn't have positioned his car where he did, especially knowing that Hamilton was on the faster starting tire and would likely overtake with the extra grip. This might also explain why, despite his initial anger, Russell was quick to convey to his team that he didn't even consider Hamilton because his focus was on racing Verstappen. So clearly, this miscommunication has had significant repercussions for Mercedes in this race, which will necessitate better strategizing in future battles. Looking at it now, it's hard to see what else Russell could have done because Hamilton lacked the necessary momentum to successfully execute the pass on the outside. He needed greater speed and/or a wider trajectory to navigate that corner unscathed. What's even stranger here is that Hamilton said after the race that they had discussed the strategy and that they both wanted to end on the podium, and I got to admit, it's a little bit hilarious how fast that plan went up in smoke. We spoke about it, and from our side I said this morning, I just want us both to be sat on that podium. Russell told Sky F1. My goal now is to try and get P2 for the team. And even I agreed. We spoke about Lewis going ahead at turn 1. That, as I said, it was just a very difficult situation. Before the race, we knew that we had different tires, so he was like, let's just work together today. So we were talking about just working together. And again, it was not our plan to come together, just really gutted for the team. We've all worked so hard to be in that position, and just really sad for everybody for my part in it. The team defended both of the drivers as expected. Toto Wolff on one hand might view this clash as an isolated incident from his usually reliable driver. However, there might also be a nagging doubt about the unusual lack of precision from a typically razor-sharp racer. The rarity of Hamilton's misjudgments means that when they do happen, especially in such a vivid manner as this one, there's a tendency to dissect them extensively. More crucial, though, will be Russell's response to the incident internally. The assumption is that he will graciously accept the apology, as he has publicly. Yet, there could also be a temptation not necessarily to capitalize on it, but to use it to his advantage in order to conclude a frequently frustrating season on a high note, and perhaps sow a few seeds of doubt in his teammates' mind for 2024. This would be a strategy that pays off handsomely for Russell, where he paired with any other teammate in the adjacent garage. Yet, as history suggests, Hamilton will likely have moved on from it very soon after the race, already mentally shifting his focus to the Austin GP in 2 weeks' time. He won't hesitate to make a similar, perhaps more calculated move should a similar opportunity present itself again. This incident also raises a question about whether this marks the conclusion of the phase in Lewis Hamilton's career where he's regarded as an elite overtaker or excels in wheel-to-wheel situations, as there have been instances in the past couple of years where Hamilton has made mistakes, and one might be inclined to cut him some slack considering he's gone from dominating Formula 1 to contending in a fiercely competitive midfield. However, this incident feels distinct. He was aware he was on the softer tire and that his rivals would have a slower start, with the potential for a 3-wide situation at turn 1, and despite having the option to bail out on the outside, he still misjudged it. It wasn't an unpredictable mid-race scenario. You could have foreseen this before the race even began. Defending against such a move is exceedingly challenging, and upon reviewing it, I'm not surprised that Hamilton ultimately admitted fault. As far as official statements go, Mercedes' communications chief Bradley Lord said that while the start was discussed between their drivers before the race, they still can't program everything to make it go to plan, with the goal now being to ensure that lessons are learned so that this situation does not arise again. We discussed it in the morning, so it was a scenario we've been through, and obviously the different start tire performance and things like that, Lord told Sky F1. And then I think in the moment they just all ran out of space. George obviously had nowhere to go, Lewis trying to take his line, and we saw what happened. Unfortunately, these things can happen and you can't program everything even with a discussion beforehand. But we'll talk about it afterwards as we do and go through it and learn what we can to hopefully never have it happen again. Both Hamilton and Russell are striving for dominance over the other and in the favor of the team. They've both been making mistakes that are costing the team points. And yes, the team will defend them in public, but I would not want to be on the next team meeting if I were them. Russell might be feeling this, and Hamilton's robust defense in Japan gave him a bit of a moral high ground as far as playing for the team goes, but they and the team need to figure out some rules of engagement, so the on-track scrapping doesn't destroy the cohesion they need to become a title-challenging team again. The question right now is, will this take a hit on their relationship? George and Lewis's relationship has been going downhill ever since Zandvoort 2022, when George put on new sorts rather than playing rearguard for Lewis, and in my opinion it will continue unless Mercedes institutes very strict rules, and even then who knows if it will work because both drivers think they're the number one and neither is going to accept a number two role. Hamilton insists he has a great relationship with Russell and that it will stay that way after the Qatar Grand Prix. According to him, they always work things out and talk after incidents like this one. What I do think helped is that Lewis was clearly at fault and admitted it straight away, and also the fact that George was able to continue and come back to a decent result probably helped as well. No matter what comes of this, it's a clear proof that Mercedes have a fierce driver in George Russell and that he will be the team's number one driver when Lewis Hamilton retires. He still has some parts of his driving to improve, and I have no doubt that he will, but fighting and diving head-on in situations like this one is what the Mercedes fans would love to see, and I believe the neutral ones as well. Mercedes have 2 weeks to sort things out before the Austin Grand Prix in the USA, and we will see if Hamilton and Russell will work together, especially if they find themselves in a race situation like this one where they can both realistically compete for the podium. Thank you for watching this video. Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you think this will ignite a feud in Mercedes or not?